What up? New location from the car. I'm next to the picnic bench, but it is snowing so much outside. But I still really like the fresh air, so I thought this was the best I could do. So yesterday I really spoke from the heart. I think the video was almost an hour. I was talking about love and love unconditionally, unconditional love. And after recording it, I was kind of thinking about it. I was thinking about what my relationship is with love, and something that came up, I think it was one of the comments or maybe searching online, is love and attachment, right? Being attached to the outcome. And I think I'm really good at identifying good things. So for example, like wanting to be more proud of my work, I can think of a lot of positive things I can do that push me towards my goal, or ways I can care for myself, or ways I can do positive things, right? But an equally important part is sitting with the extremely negative parts, right? The parts you're afraid to think about. I think for me, growing up and learning that emotions were bad to feel, highs and lows, but especially the lows, the negative feelings, you start to push them away. You start to push them away in a way that is almost out of shame, right? Like, you're so ashamed that you're feeling this thing that you have to almost pretend that you didn't. A great example is, like, I remember I was like maybe 18 or 19, and I remember reading online somewhere that, like, if you think your partner is cheating on you, you can't let that happen. You can't let you can't let yourself think your partner's cheating on you, because once that seed is planted, you can never get rid of it, and you'll always think about it. I don't know if that information is very healthy to think, because if somebody is reading that quote and interpreting it, they might be thinking that already, and now they're like, well, fuck, I already fucked up. How do I undo it? Well, maybe you can just pretend that you never actually had the thought, or pretend that it doesn't exist, or pretend that it's a weakness that you can, like, route out. So when I'm in my teens or early 20s and I'm trying to hype myself up and motivate myself, I would have doubts. I would have negative thoughts. And I would go, that's weakness. You shouldn't think those things. You didn't think those things. They're not real. They're made up. They're in your head. Push them away. They're not true. They're not real. Quickly identify them. Push them away. When you do that, they're still there. If anything, they're more there than the happy feelings, because you never actually felt them. You never actually felt that sadness. You never actually felt that pain, that sting of defeat, that embarrassment, that shame. You start to block that stuff out because you see it as bad emotions, and bad emotions you shouldn't have. You start to moralize your thoughts, or at least I do. I say you, but speaking to myself on the camera here, but if this resonates, sure. I start to moralize my thoughts. I can only have thoughts that are good, and if I have thoughts that are bad, then I need to get rid of them. What's been so interesting through this recovery process is that those negative feelings, the worst thoughts I can think of, actually lead me to somewhere really positive. Because what was happening oftentimes is I wouldn't actually believe the like worst thoughts about myself or about other people, but like by not even being willing to like entertain them, they would take a hold of me. They would sit in the background and be like, well, maybe you are thinking this, maybe you are feeling this thing. I'm trying to think of an example, but it does feel very vulnerable. Yeah, I guess a good example is a friend coming over to feed our pets. I had a thought in my head, oh my God, could you imagine if they opened my journal and looked through it? That would be terrible. And then I caught it. I caught that thought. Caught the thought. Wasn't curious about it at first. I was like, oh, what a terrible thing to think. What a fucking terrible thing to think. What, I don't even trust my friends? What, I don't even trust the people that care about me? What's wrong with me? Why would I do that? What the hell? That's not real. Push it away. Then I was journaling and I was like, you know what? Let me write out that thought and just look at it. Observe it and be curious about it, you know? So I wrote it out in a notebook. I wrote out the worst version of it, you know? Like the most hurtful, the most, you know? And as I was doing that, I was starting to learn my own personal interpretations. Because as I wrote it out and I looked at it, I was like, I don't actually believe that. I don't. But I did think it, and that's okay. It's okay that I thought it. Doesn't make it true. But what parts do I do? Do I resonate with? What parts do I resonate with? That as I go through this journey, I'm starting to value privacy, or my ability to process things internally, or my ability to sit with something in myself before maybe extending it outwards. Not always needing to like immediately present it to the public, but like maybe having, you know, my own internal world, right? And having a journal sit out in the open, even if nobody's there, makes me feel vulnerable. Makes me feel like it might accidentally flap open to a certain page. I thought it even, I was clearing out a notebook, and I put a bunch of pieces of paper in recycling, and then I got really in my head that I was like, oh, is somebody going to see these pieces of paper? And I didn't even remember what was on them. It was just random scribblings, but I was just like, what if I wrote something and someone takes it out of context? Or what if somebody interprets it the wrong way? Or what if they interpret it's about themselves? Or what if they freak out and they think I'm like losing my mind or something? I started to like spiral, because at least for me, journaling is very I'm practicing journaling very stream of consciousness, very no boundaries. Absolute expression. And I'm getting more comfortable with that. Even to the point where maybe one day I could share that. I don't know. Even this, getting in front of a camera like this, I don't think I could have done previously. And I don't think the goal is to like get to a point where I'm every internal thought I'm sharing publicly, but like that was the thing. It was like a chance for me to love myself more. Maybe let's put the journal away in a drawer. Maybe let's ask my partner that that's an important thing to me. And just like that a little bit of privacy means a lot to me in this situation. Now, that's a positive and loving interpretation, right? What did it start as? Oh God, is my friend gonna look through my journal? What my initial thought was is, oh my God, do I trust my friends? Do I trust anybody? What's wrong with me? Da 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 da. How do I get rid of this thought? How do I pull it out of my brain and make sure I never think it again? Where now it doesn't come up because it was actually communicating to me a different thing entirely. And there's versions of that are much more intense and deep, that I don't think I'm ready to share quite yet, but yeah. I really thought for a long time that self-confidence, self-love, self-trust came from routing out negative feelings, negative emotions, negative things, stamping them out, zero tolerance for it, right? I saw it as a really hard thing to do. I saw it as something that would require a huge amount of effort. And what had ended up happening is I would still say these negative things to myself, or I'd push away feelings like this, or I wouldn't sit with them. Because it wasn't about the thoughts themselves, it was about starting from a place of love and care. That what if I wasn't Evan and Evan came to me and said, I've got this thought and it makes me feel terrible and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, is that something do you need to express a boundary to your friend? Where is that coming from? A curious approach, right? If a friend shared with me that, I would never be like, that's a terrible thing to think. What's wrong with you? Why would I say that? I would approach it with curiosity because they're my friend or someone I love and I care about them a lot and I want them to grow and improve. And if they're sharing this with me, it's important enough that I want to sit there and I want to understand it. I want to understand it. That's the word. Curiosity and understanding. Yeah, so many negative thoughts actually turned into such incredibly positive outcomes. I learned more about myself. I learned more about my boundaries. We watched an episode of this anime about these people in a dungeon who are killing monsters and cooking them into food. And we've only seen one episode, so I'm not speaking to the whole series, but the whole thing is they're basically these monsters that they've associated with just killing them. They're trying to understand how to cook them, and by doing that it helps them understand the monster's ecosystem and habitat and how to cook them with respect and all these different things. And it's I feel like my thoughts, I was just swinging a sword at them, where now when I sit with them and I start to understand them, it feels like I can digest them better. But what's also funny is that I also need to process these things in a private way, because these things are not things I want to share with everybody. I don't want to tell my friend that was coming over, hey, I think you're going to look through the journal, right? Why would I want to do that? Because it actually isn't about them. It's not even about the situation. So why would they need to know that? And I have unfortunately gotten myself in trouble a couple times where I was writing notes on an app about these types of things, or journaling and left the page opened, and people are like, what the fuck is this? And it really did freak me out, because I was like, oh no, how do you explain that? It's I'm trying to sit with my strangest, darkest, most confusing thoughts and make sense of it. That's an expression of privacy. And maybe that's an expression for me to prioritize a bit of privacy in processing these things, right? That's why you talk with a therapist. You feel safe expressing yourself fully, because sometimes it's hard to process these things with the people in your life, right? Anyway, To love and accept myself unconditionally requires me to love and accept the parts of myself that I don't feel particularly good about, or they make me uncomfortable, or they make me scared. Sorry, I'm seeing somebody walk by. I think they're my friend. No, they're not. That's okay. I feel like every episode or these episodes, I don't know. Every video, I feel like I run into someone and then I feel myself freeze and then kind of soothe. I think it's going to sound so silly, but to be kind to yourself, you have to be kind to yourself. You can't force kindness. You can't extract kindness. You can't enforce kindness. You can't interrogate kindness. You have to be kind to yourself. Not nice, but like kind, caring, thoughtful. It requires you to create a bit of space between your thoughts and yourself. It requires you to create a bit of space between your body. Each individual chunk, I keep coming back to this, like the brain, body, and like soul, or whatever third one you want to call it, like the ghost in the shell, the meta awareness, yeah. Get your brain thinking, get your body doing, or like nerves feeling. Then you've got this like essence of you, consciousness. They all work as a team, but they're also all separate entities, right? And they can influence each other massively. If you're not checking in with your body, your thoughts can feel like the only thing. If you get what I mean? Let me explain it a different way. When I would get stressed, I would try to think my way out of this stress. I would try to think about the things that were stressing me out and then write about why they don't need to stress me out. But it wouldn't really work. Because the thing that I actually needed was bodily safety, maybe. Nervous system safety. That's what I was seeking. You can only think so far. You can think good thoughts, or you can understand it intellectually, but feeling and somatics go, it's this different ecosystem, it's this different environment. And something like panicking or being in an anxious state is partially the thoughts, right? You're thinking anxious thoughts, your brain's racing in bed. But another part of it is that your nervous system's in a heightened state, right? And maybe your nervous system's in a heightened state because you're not listening to your like gut, your soul, your needs, right? And I'm not saying this in a judgmental way. I'm not saying this in a way that's like prescriptive, like you need to be doing that. It's that if you don't feel in connection with those three things, or if you feel like you're just on endless loops, you just keep making the same mistakes over and over again. You just keep trying to make progress and it never sustains. You want to start things, but you don't believe that they can exist for you. For me, a huge part of it was my body. I feel like my brain can go a million miles an hour. It can think of solutions. It can be smart. It can be witty. It can be blah, 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 blah. I have a big head. I also feel that the spiritual side or the soul side, I can tap into that. I can sit and reflect and I can be like, what What do I desire? What are my dreams? My body was really disconnected from those things for me personally. And as I continue to get in touch with my body, I find new layers of depth to my soul and to my brain, and because they all work in unison. There are levels of relaxation I can get to that I didn't know existed. I can let my guard down in a way that I did not know I could. I can feel sadness in a way that I never thought I could. And when you can feel something to that depth, you don't enjoy it. It's hard. The feelings are a lot, but you feel them. You don't suffocate them. You feel them. You allow them to dance, and then you allow them to move on. And what often happens is huge amounts of self-growth. I went dancing and I was feeling sad. I was feeling sad about some stuff in my life. I was feeling, you know what, I do want to explain it. Going through this process, getting diagnosed with CPTSD, doing EMDR, has helped me understand my nervous system in particular at a level that I had not understood it before. But in knowing that there's parts of me that just shut off in certain situations that I'm recovering from, but, it's fundamentally different than this perfect, able-bodied human that I had created in my head. I'm being faced with reality. And I had the thought, am I damaged goods? Am I just broken forever? Am I never going to be the person I want to be? Is there going to be a limit to what I can do? I think I really had a deep down idea of myself, and it feels very childish, but I think I had this idea in my brain that by understanding all this stuff enough and by going through all these processes that I would be like a normal person. I would be a human. I would be a full human. But learning that disassociation means you have taken in less information through your childhood really freaked me out. It made me think, what things do I like? I've always been someone who's identified with struggling in school. I think I like to fucking learn. I think I like to learn things. All I'm doing all day right now while resting is reading Wikipedia articles all day. Learning new things, going down rabbit holes. I love learning about stuff. I love YouTube videos about stuff. Why was I so obsessed with hating school? I can go down that rabbit hole, but I'm not right now. But I guess I was feeling angry for an identity lost, but I was also mourning an identity I had built up in my head that once I figure out all this stuff, then I'm going to be And it's like I didn't realize the depth I was prescribing self-worth to an outcome. Either making a bunch of money, either recovering in a certain way, either hashing out an existence in a certain way, whatever it was. I kept setting this vague end goal of like being better or being like a whole person, or I don't even know how to describe it. And I was sad about that. And I went dancing. And I let it kind of move through me. I let it sit with me. I was crying. I don't even know how I was dancing, truly, because I was just letting it flow. It was a lot. But by the end, I was feeling so much love and care for myself. I knew I wasn't damaged goods. I knew that the version of myself that I had built up in my head was fiction. And I created this eternal end goal that just kept moving as a way to reinforce the idea that I'm a flawed person or whatever it is. And that by knowing myself better, it shouldn't be a point of frustration or sadness. It can be, and I'm allowed to feel those things. But the deeper thing about that is that all that's left is me. When I take off all these layers, when I take off all these different things, I'm the only thing that's left at the end of it. And in a way that's scary, but in a way that's really exciting, because by better understanding myself, I can create a day. I can wake up and move through a day in a way that's extremely authentic to me. There are days when I'm really scared about what my life's going to look like, what my relationships might look like, how things might change, what my work situation might look like. There are days where but most of the time, I'm just here. I'm just moving through the day. I'm just doing the things that I'm doing. I'm not really trying to prescribe meaning too much. I like looking back and prescribing a bit of meaning. I really like these videos for that exact reason. Yeah. I think negative feelings can lead to incredible growth if you let them. Negative feelings can lead to incredible growth if you let them. Yep. Hope you're all having a great day. I love you. I'm rooting for you. We're going to come out on the other side and we're going to celebrate this. But we're going to enjoy it while we're here. Have a good one.